How's it going, YouTube? Jimmy here again. So last video I said that we'd go ahead and do a quick reference model, and I'm just going to show you how teams usually do this. So the first thing I want to do is I want to come in here into the front view. Now normally I'd have my picture set up and everything, but I'm just doing this to give you all an idea, basically get y'all's feet wet, I guess you would say. So I download this image right here. This is just called a male. This is all it is. Very, very simple image. Like I said, normally these are spliced up, so I'm like, depending on what view you're in, you'll be able to see it more clearly. I'm not going to take time to do that. I will, however, tell you where I got it from. So right here, this is the blueprints.com, as you can see up here. It's free to sign up. I'm not trying to like blow their website up or anything like that because they're paying me or anything. I'm just saying this because this is actually a legitimately good website to go to for not just cars, but planes, cell phones, things like that. As you can see, I'm here underneath the humans section and inside humans, but and if you want comic book characters, they got that too. So I'm just using this as a quick reference. If you have an artist on your team, then he'll draw something out for you, and then you can just splice the images up. So back in here in Maya, is what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to hit Control D, and I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. And so is what we're going to do is in the front view right here, I'm actually going to have this lined up right about here. And I'm just going to create some real quick models just to give you an idea on animation. So I'm actually going to create a series of cubes. Wait. What just happened? Nothing happened. Okay, so no biggie. So let me go and hit Control D. I'm just going to move this one back down here. Move this one. Now sometimes you may not actually create two of them. Sometimes it might just be one. And I'm actually going to kind of go off of that reference, where it's just one cube. And when I say a quick model, I do mean very quick model. So as you can see, I'm not really spending any time on trying to sculpt this or anything. I'm just kind of like throwing it in there. So we're just going to grab that. We're just going to grab this, and we'll move it right about here. Take these and move them forward just a little bit. Hit Control D, and I'm going to move this over here. Let me go ahead and grab this image. I'm just going to pull it back. I think that's the right way I want to go. And this one right here, we're just going to pull this back as well. Nope, this way. Okay, so right here, we're just going to make this smaller. We're going to extend it. Something like that. We'll hit Control D. Make this one a little bit longer. Hit Control D. And we're going to make this his hand. Where are your hands? Here are my hands. So right here we want to go into Control G because we actually want to group these. Normally when you are modeling, your characters need to be set in T-pose. And T-pose, I'm just going to come up here real quick. Let me just go through these characters. Nope, none of those are T-pose. So let me go into humans again. Right here. This is T-pose. This is actual T-pose. This, if you have an artist, this is what you're going to want them to try and make for you. So this way, when you go in for, it's mainly for your animator, so this way they don't have to go in and manipulate anything, which you as an artist, if you're the one modeling the character, you'll have to make it T-pose. Sometimes it might be the animator making it T-pose, but generally it is going to be the artist's job to make the polygonal object T-pose. So, just a little FYI. So right here we're going to hit Control G again. I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate those over. As you can see, I'm not even taking time to line them up. I really don't care. So I'm going to go ahead and scale this in a little bit. I'm going to come here into the side view, and I'm going to move it back right about here. Right about there I think should be good. These actually need to be moved back to about here. And then this right here, this is going to be his legs. So I'm going to scale that in right about there. Go ahead and move it over. Move it right about here. I'm going to go ahead and line it up. And we'll scale it out. We're going to hit Control D. Move this down here. Scale that out just a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and move it down because I actually want this one to be a little bit longer. Something like that I'm thinking. So as you can see, I'm not spending a whole lot of time doing this at all. It's actually very, very primitive, if you want to call it that. So move this over. I'm going to select these, Control G, Control D. So this is going to be our polygonal object. In fact, let me go ahead and start deleting these right here. Control S. We're going to go, let me see, scenes. This is going to be my new, what we called the other one? Quick Rig. That's what it's called. Quick Rig. So we'll go ahead and save it and overwrite the last one that I kind of give you all an example on. So right here, this is our basic model, well, reference model. Obviously, the actual model that we create would look even more, I guess you say phenomenal than this, but this is just for your animators. I don't know if y'all are in college watching this or if you're doing this on your own. If you're doing this on your own, then you won't be doing this. You know, you'll just create the model, then go from there. But just make sure you have it in T-pose, because that will save you it'll save you a lot of heartache later. And also, if you're going to have fingers, like individually moving fingers for your character, I need to actually touch base on this, because this was his entire hand. And so if you're going to add fingers, you'll basically just come in here. Let me scale this in, scale this back. Then we'll come in here, and this is basically what you would do. And you'd add the fingers. You know, you'd add all 5 fingers. Well, 4 fingers and a thumb. But that's basically what you ended up doing if you're going to have individual moving fingers. In this case, I'm not going to do that. I just don't want to. So let me go ahead and combine all of these. We're going to go to Edit, Delete by Type, History, and we'll just get rid of all that nonsense. We'll go ahead and save it real quick since we have all this set up. So after you have finished doing that, we actually need to zero our character out. I'm just going to zero him out right here on the grid plane. And it'll make sense why here in just a minute. We're going to lift him up just a little bit more. There we go. Now we're going to go here to 0. We'll send a pivot. We'll come up here to Edit, Delete by Type, History, Edit, Delete by Type, Non-Deformer History. And so now everything is fresh. There is no nodes or anything like that that's attached to this model. From there, we can go over here to Rigging. We'll go up to Skeleton. We're just going to do a quick rig. Let's just do an auto rig. This is going to be way easier. Okay, that's no surprise. So we'll have to do it step by step. So we already have our PQ RA in here, and we're going to do this no embedding. We'll go ahead and hit Create Update, and we'll need to move some of these up into position. Let's see, I'm trying to remember how to do all of these. Okay, well, you know what? That can go screw itself. So we're just going to select these, start moving them into position. Move that right there. Move this up here. Move that over here. Start moving these out. Move that. Okay. There we go. So as what I did is I selected all these on this side. That's why I wasn't really manipulating these. I just clicked on this. So anything that was over here is going to mirror it to this side. So once you've done that, you can go ahead and click on your main reference and just come down here to Skeleton Rig Generation. Under here, this is going to be T-stance correction. So if there is something that's not correct with your T-stance, it'll kind of fix it. I'm not going to say it will fix it, but it will kind of fix it. So right here, we're going to create a skeleton and control rig. We'll just hit Create and Update. There we go. And so right here, as you can see, this is already lined up a lot better than what it was last night. Now, there are still some things. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this or anything like that. I'm just going to get your feet a little bit more wet, basically kind of leaving off from where I did last night, because, you know, that was a really crappy model. And so for skinning is what we're going to do is we're going to select this node right here, and we'll select our mesh, and we'll just go ahead and hit Create Update. And if I've done this correctly, which it doesn't look like I did, so as you can see, some of the stuff didn't quite transform correctly, because if it did, we wouldn't be missing our arms. So let me go into shading. Let me see if I can find out where these arms went. Where did those arms go? The arms went somewhere. I just don't know where. So oops. Go into face and hit Control G. Off objects or values. Okay, so let me just Control G. Yeah, go figure. Object mode. Okay, well, it's going to fight with me. So let's go ahead and just select our mesh and hit Create Update. Let's see what's going on. And I don't even see it anywhere in the scene. Oops. Okay, so I don't know what happened. It's probably because I'm actually doing this with multiple objects. That's the only thing I can think of. But, so right here, as you can see, the head does move, and it doesn't really affect anything. So that's good. But let's go ahead and try the leg real quick if we notice. So, yeah, see, so we're affecting the top part of this character right here. As you can see, it is affecting this part up here. So what we need to do is we need to select this right here. This is going to be left ankle. Okay, so we'll come in here. Let's go into rigging. Where are you at? And we're going to come into the paint brush tool. So right here we got this selected. Let's see. That was right leg. So let's try right foot, right leg up. Okay, so right leg up. Alright, so right here is what we're going to do is I have this set right here that it is wherever is in the circle is going to be opaque. If you hold down B, you can move this in, and you can actually change your brush size, as you can see. So by moving it this way, it makes it smaller. By going this way, it makes it bigger. And while you're moving that mouse left or right, you have to hold down the B key. It's kind of required. So under these options real quick, we have paint, we have select, and paint selected. Now normally I keep it on paint because I'll go ahead and select up here what I am wanting anyway, so it's no big deal. Right here under, and obviously you have to have the geometry selected for this to work. So right here you'll hit replace, add, scale, or smooth. If it's scale, it'll actually change the attributes by scaling them outwards. By hitting replace, whatever you have down here, it will replace the current value right here with whatever you have selected. If you have add, so if the opacity right here is say 0.1 and this opacity right here is 0.5, then the new value will actually be 0.6359. With replace, however, which is what we're going to want, I'm sorry, we actually want opacity of 1 because what will happen is the opacity means whatever this value is, that is what it will paint as, 100%. So if the value is 0, then this will paint a 0 value 100%. Whereas if it's only half opacity, it's only going to paint half of that, as you can see. But if we crank this all the way up and click it, let me go and click right here on an edge, as you can see it actually gets rid of that. And so by painting those values real quick, as you can see now it got rid of all that. And so whenever we come back here to move this is the ankle, part of the leg or whatever, as you can see now that doesn't move or anything. So that's actually what we were wanting. Let me go ahead and move this back down. I'll just pull it back. There we go. Okay, so more than likely the only reason why these pieces disappeared is because it's not a complete mesh. If it was a complete mesh, usually you won't run into that problem. And you can easily fix it by simply just deleting the faces and doing the bridge together like I do on a lot of the other modeling projects I've shown you in my previous videos. Now, there are two ways you can animate this. I wouldn't recommend doing it this way if you have a control rig, and that is actually selecting an object, and let's say, let's just say we want a simple bow, where he goes, that's all we want is a simple bow. So what you do is you'd set this at 1, come here to, let's say it takes 2 seconds to do. Most games will operate on 30 frames a second because of the time scale. And so you come here and set this at 60, then right here at 30, you would make them bow. If you want them to hold the bow, you'd come to 20, make them bow down, middle mouse button click on 40, and hit S again. And so now you have this. where he actually stops. If you want a little bit more lifelike movement, you can have it where it comes up just a little bit, and so as you can see, he'll kind of like move a little bit, and then he'll come back up. And that is one way you can do it. The other option is there's a site. I can't remember the name of it. I'd have to look it up. I'm not going to lie, YouTube. I will have to look that shit up. But I will have it in my next video. And is what the site is. It has different FBX formats. And so you can actually take those FBX files and apply it to your model. Now, when you apply it to the model, I've never applied it inside of Maya right here, but I have done it within Unity itself. And that's basically what you do right there. So anyways, let me go ahead and get back into this tutorial real quick. So as you can see, we have our bowing person. If you're going to be animating this for a video game, one thing I do want to make note of. So right here we have 60 frames. One thing I will do is anytime I'm working on a video game, I'll say frames 1 through 60 equals bow. And then you'll say frames 61 through, I don't know, let's just say 80 equals attack. So right here is what we'll do is we'll come here to 61. I'm actually going to move this time slider right about here. So this way, no matter where I move, if I lose my place, I can just come back here to 61, and I'm already there. Then we said to frame 80, so I'm going to shrink this down, so that's where we have 80 frames. So I know whatever I do right inside within this window, whatever I start off at 61, that's where I need to end at 80. So a good practice to get into. I'm just going to move this character real quick and just kind of like set him up right here. So right here he's set up. He's not moving or anything, which is fine. But we're going to go ahead and set the keyframe for 61 as well as 80. So if we're going to make him attack, right here at 70, we need to bring his fist up like this, and then we'll need to bring it over. And so as what we'll see is, whoa, that's not what I want. We'll see him where he comes up like that. And if you want it where he kind of like comes up with a little bit more force, is what you can do is you can come in here. Oops, there we go. You can actually come in here. That's not what I want. We'll just bend this upwards. And so what's going to come on is he's going to come in here, then attack. And so as you can see, like he comes in with like a, you know, like his fist is bent, and then he comes out and straightens it. Now, obviously, this doesn't look quite right because, you know, he's like, ah! But, you know, that's just the basic fundamentals of that. So, you know, we'd have like 61 to 80, which would be attack. And then also, like, normally is what I'll do is my first starting frames, so like this is 1 through 60 where he bows. But is what I'll actually end up doing is like, say, frames 01, or actually a lot of times I'll type it like this, 001, and then I'll have it through like 180 or 250 or whatever, now equal idle NM. And the whole purpose of this little cheat sheet is when you go into Unity, you can look at these numbers and be like, okay, so I need to have a split between 1 and 60, I need to have another split between 61 and 80. In this case, the reason why there are so many frames for the idle animation, because a lot of times I like to do the same static idle animation, and it'll repeat 3 times. But then after the 3rd time it repeats, it'll continue on with the animation, where the character will do something like, come on, dude, let's go. Or he'll, like, pull out a yo-yo, or he'll, like, start, like, I don't know, stabbing himself in the hand with a fork, you know, whatever. It can be whatever. I have no idea what the hell my dog's problem is. So anyways, that's the whole purpose of that, of making notes on what frames you're doing what on. So, right here you can also change different things. Now, on this control rig, we don't have any fingers. You know, I did not create that. If you come in here, where are you at? I think it's, yeah, that's a little obnoxious. I want to say it's definition. Here we go, it is definition. Now, if you come in here to stance, I believe, yeah. So, under stance, if you were to create extras, you can actually create them right here. And so right now we have the left hand node selected. But if you're to create extra fingers, you can actually come in here and actually create the extra fingers within here. and that'll actually be applied to your control stance. And nothing that's like, I'm not going to go anything that's real highly detailed in this tutorial, like I said before. I'm just trying to go a little bit more in depth with the control rig. But the last thing I want to go over is, let's say whenever you create your skeleton, you have not applied it to the model yet. One thing I like about this is if you move this down, let me just move this somewhere over here. I'm trying to get it where it's like, it's not doing it naturally. Naturally, when I'm trying to like explain something. Oh, because it's still connected, that's why. Duh. Okay, so basically is what I was trying to show you. If you try to move one of these to move it in position wherever your character's arm might be, this will go yellow or it'll go red. If it's either one of those, you don't want that. You want it to stay all green. And as basically as we'll say is like, this joint right here is not matched up with this joint over here. And that can happen because, like, let's say you need to move this from right here to right here. It might actually go too far out. And so you'd be stuck with one of two options. You have to either redo the rig or you have to redo the model. There are other ways around it, but those are generally the most two common things that I have ran into. So there's just a few things to be aware of. I'll go into that a little bit more later on into in other tutorials. But anyways, that's going to do it for this video. Real short, simple control rig creation. So if you like this video, I ask that you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, comment if there's any particular models you'd like to see me do or any kind of animation tips you'd like to see me go over. If you're new to my channel, like I said, you know, if you didn't like this video, go ahead and hit that dislike button and, you know, comment on how much you'd like to see a camel start just walking over my dead corpse or whatever. So I usually upload a new video every night, but, you know, it's whatever. So until next time, YouTube, I shall see y'all later.